Hello and welcome to this presentation on the AQA A-Level Economics course that we teach at SGS College. Economics is an increasingly popular choice of A-Level subject to study, and many of the topics studied are issues that are affecting our everyday lives. For example, Brexit, things like the impact on the exchange rates and the trade deals that are negotiated as the UK moves forward outside of the European Union. Also, issues associated with the coronavirus pandemic, the issues affecting really negatively the travel industry, the hospitality industry, but also the impact on the wider economy in terms of unemployment, government finances. Will the government need to raise taxes in the future to cover the support that has been provided for individuals and businesses? Or will it just cope with negative budgets and move forward with higher levels of debt in society? As you progress through the course, you will learn knowledge of economic concepts and terminology. You will also learn how to apply these to real life situations and use theories and models to help analyse and explain why things are happening in the economy. You will also make judgments and make your opinions on which you think might be the best solution to solve an economic problem, what factors might influence how successful a certain policy is. You also will cover a wide range of quantitative skills, which includes basic maths, for example, percentages, ratios, for example, but also interpreting and drawing graphs, being able to interpret data, etc. As well as the skills that are included within the course directly, it will also help to build up a range of employability skills. And some of the ones that spring to mind the most are things like building up good communication skills, being able to articulate your viewpoints, being able to listen to the viewpoints of other people, but also problem solving. And all of these things will help you move into whichever career you choose, and are skills that can be transferred into a wide range of settings. Economics is split into two broad areas. The first is microeconomics, and this really looks at the individual markets and individual aspects of the economy. It looks at how households and firms make decisions. It looks at how the government might intervene to try and correct certain situations or improve situations within individual industries and markets. Then there is macroeconomics. This is looking at the economy as a whole. So this will include things like looking at unemployment, economic growth, the impact of exchange rate changes in international trade, and looking at what the government can do to improve the performance of the whole economy. The globalization of the world will also be covered in year 2 of this element. In year 1, there are 5 main areas of microeconomics that will be covered, and much of this underpins the theory that will be covered throughout the course. In unit 1, you look at economic problem and economic methodology. This is basically the fact that as in a society, consumers and households have an unlimited list of needs and wants that want to be satisfied, but the economy has scarce resources, and so we can't have everything we want. And this looks at how any economic system decides how resources are allocated. The second unit is probably the most fundamental throughout the study of economics, and this looks at how prices are determined in competitive markets, and basically covers the theory of supply and demand. The third unit covers production costs and revenue, which is probably quite self-explanatory. And then in unit 4, you cover competitive and concentrated markets. So looking at a spectrum of where different firms sit on the degree of competitiveness. Are there lots and lots of firms in the economy all competing, and so prices tend to be driven downwards, quality tends to be driven up? Or are there firms that have a lot of dominance, a lot of concentration, and they can exert their monopoly power to exploit customers with higher prices and lower quality? In Unit 5, you then look at the market mechanism and how the market sometimes doesn't lead to the best optimal solution. So we look at things like market failure, and you then go on to study how the government intervenes to try and correct those market failures in the economy. One example that I've highlighted in the graphics there is the role of the sugar tax being used to try and reduce the amount of sugar that we consume in society, because it is deemed that certain things are overconsumed, and sugary drinks is one of them. So students will look at the theory behind markets and how the government goes on to attempt to correct the situation in the economy. There are 4 broad topics within macroeconomics that are studied in year 1, and these are assessed in paper 2 of the AS level. The first unit looks at indicators of macroeconomic performance, things like GDP, which is an indicator to economic growth, and GDP stands for Gross Domestic Product. Another one would be the Consumer Price Index, which is an indicator to the level of inflation in the economy. Unit 2 looks at some of the main models that are used to analyse the macroeconomy. And in Unit 3, you look at some of those key areas of performance, so levels of unemployment, levels of inflation, levels of economic growth, for example. And in Unit 4, you look at the macroeconomic policy, that is the government policies that can be used to try and improve economic performance. So you look at things like fiscal policy, which looks at the different areas that the government can raise taxation from, but also the areas that the government spends money on. And then monetary policy, which is looking at the use, for example, of interest rates or the exchange rate to manipulate the macroeconomic performance. And then there's also an area called supply side policies, which are very, very important in today's society, looking at things like investment in research and development, education initiatives like an expansion of the apprenticeship program, the introduction of T-levels within education, and all of those kinds of things are aimed at trying to grow the economy from the supply side rather than policies that perhaps look at manipulating the level of demand in the economy by raising people's disposable incomes. In year 2, there are lots of topics that are explored in more detail than they are at AS, and then there are also some new topics. Within Unit 1, Individual Economic Decision Making, we explore the role of behavioural economics, which challenges some of the traditional assumptions that economic theory makes. This is a new branch of economics that has come onto the specification since 2015 and is very popular in universities' study of economics these days. Another new area in year 2 is labour market economics. That's not really covered at all at AS, but you go on to look at the role of minimum wage legislation, the role of trade union power within labour markets, but also the role of something called monopsony power in labour markets, and the NHS is one of the examples of those. In year 2, the macroeconomic topics build on much of what has been covered at AS. There are also 2 significant areas that are different. The first being financial markets. This explores the financial crisis that took place in 2007 and the subsequent global recession that also occurred. And then in Unit 6, the international economy looks at international trade, the role of trade versus protectionism, and also the globalization of the world economy. AS students are assessed using two 1.5-hour papers. Paper 1 is based on microeconomics and paper 2 is macroeconomics. These include a range of multiple choice questions and data response questions. At A level, there are 3 papers, again a microeconomics paper and a macroeconomics paper, but there is also a paper 3 which takes a synoptic approach, so looks at both micro and macroeconomic issues on the same paper. And also at A level, there are extended essay questions that don't exist in the paper at AS. We're very proud of the consistently good exam results that students achieve on economics, and also that many of them go on to use their economics either studying at a higher level or within their future careers. Economics works very well with a wide range of other A-level subjects in the same pathway, such as business and accounting, but also subjects such as maths, geography, and other social sciences. Many students go on to pursue a degree or career in a related area as well. My name's Di Kernock, and here are my contact details should you have any further questions. I'm the person responsible for teaching economics at SGS College, and I teach it alongside teaching A-level business as well. I've been doing so for many years, and if you have any queries or questions you'd like to ask from me, please do not hesitate to ask. Look forward to maybe meeting you sometime in the future. Goodbye.